is the family. This is the Irish Rep family. I'm here with the artistic director, obviously, Charlotte Moore, and the music director, John Bell, and our great choreographer, Barry McNabb. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
This is what the Irish Rep feels like. It feels like a family. And
Yes.
And I came into this family and have done some plays, and well, I've done plays and musicals for you, but we're going to talk about musicals today. I don't think I've ever been happier making musicals, and I think it has to do with the three of you right there. I would love to know, just personally, how the three of you found each other and created what I walked into, which was already such a loving and fluid kind of partnership. I'm very interested in how you met, what your individual backgrounds are, a little bit about musicals as well.
I came into Irish Rep in 1992 with Hal Prince. An extra at Saturday Night Live told me they were doing this Irish play that Hal Prince had written at Irish Rep, and he thought there was dancing in it. So I wrote a letter to Charlotte, and I wrote a letter to Hal. And they called me in, and I went in, and Hal knew me from Phantom. So I basically did that. That was one of the first things. That was 92. Grandchild of Kings. Yeah, it was the play. Yeah. That's when I met Charlotte, and then I started. Basically, I think we've done every musical you've done, Charlotte, except for one. And then they were doing their galas every year, and I kept on saying into Charlotte's ear, do Finian's Rainbow, do Finian's Rainbow, do Finian's Rainbow. And then we did Finian's Rainbow as a gala that first year with you. And
were we the first musical?
The first musical was one I wrote all the music and songs for and directed.
Amazing. Tell me about that.
The Streets of New York. I adapted that and rewrote it and wrote all the music and lyrics and and directed it.
The Streets of New York, a play by Dion Boucicaut, songs by Charlotte Moore. It was from November 2001 to January 2002.
And Kieran was the dance captain.
And Barry, you did the choreography?
I did.
Okay, so that was the first one. When did it really start to flow? Or what was your favorite one? Or maybe Finian's Rainbow has a soft spot in your heart?
Yeah.
A soft spot in my heart, indeed. I love Finian's Rainbow very much.
So John, tell me how you met Charlotte and some of your musical experiences.
The first show I did with Irish Rep was Meet Me in St. Louis. It was a funny story. I had just moved to New York I just graduated college. I was seeing Grey Gardens, which was the big hit show at the time. And I came out of the theater at like 11 o'clock, and I had a message on my phone, and it was Kieran O'Reilly. It was like, hi, you don't know me, but can you be at rehearsal at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning for a show called Meet Me in St. Louis?
And that was in December 2006.
Yeah. To be perfectly honest, I don't know how they found me or got my number or anything, but I had actually just purchased the recording of the first Finian's Rainbow that you guys had done like 2 years before. Really? I literally had just bought the CD. So I went home and I dug out the CD and I was like, oh, this is these people. Okay, I'll go. So I went.
I remember him walking in. He came in and sat down and started working through things. And he was a collaborator from the word go.
And that was Meet Me in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the musical that was based on the series of short stories in the New Yorker magazine?
That's right. Exactly right.
Now, Charlotte, to do a musical at the Irish Rep, why do you find it so important to do it from time to time?
Oh, I've loved and been addicted to musicals, Broadway musicals, since I was 8 years old, and I'm very musical. I play the piano and so you do one, and you get these wonderful people, and you have these sounds, and you have this fun, and you set this example, and you're hooked. And I'm not about to leave that behind, that history of musical theater behind. It's important. It's a very Irish sentiment that happens during these musicals.
Yes.
And it's so much fun.
Now, Irish people in general have right deep in their hearts a sense of hard times, and music as uplifting. It's kind of innate to the Irish character to viscerally turn to song.
There's no more musical country than Ireland.
Yeah.
They're just musical.
The rhythm of the language has such a lilt and a lovely, musicality to it.
Yeah, there's great musicality in the speaking, in the dialect, and among the different regional dialects. Yeah. I will say one that I particularly loved that we did. I mean, I've loved them all, but I really loved Donnybrook, which is the musical version of the film The Quiet Man, which has always been one of my favorite films.
Do you know what I'd like to see? What?
that was an interesting show to do. We did a lot of work on that one. I mean, that I think is a perfect example of like what we can do that's so special with our shows is we can really tailor them to to the artists, to the space, to the story that we're trying to tell.
Almost every musical we've done, Charlotte, has adapted and changed things.
Yes.
When we did Ernest in Love, there was so much more of the Oscar Wilde play put back into it so that the language was there. But I have to tell you, one of the things that makes all the Irish Rep musicals so magical is that Charlotte knows how to adapt them so that an intimate family, like in Meet Me in St. Louis, the Broadway version was a huge spectacle. Charlotte took that musical and put it so that it was all inside the house of that family. But I have to tell you, her version that she adapted and made is what they are now licensing out there in the world. She's adapted so many of our musicals.
New Girl in Town?
Yeah.
New Girl in Town.
He gave her kisses and promised the moon.
What, another girl looking for a sugar daddy?
And now he's singing the same old tune.
Oh, you can't live with him, you can't live without him.
He left her waiting alone at the church.
Yeah, he left her.
He left her waiting alone at the lurch. With all her broken dreams, it's no surprise. The sunshine girl has raindrops in her eyes.
I was on a pretty island, somewhere on a shiny sea. You were with me on the island where I wanted you to be. Did you close your eyes when we kissed? Did you close your eyes when we kissed? Did you close your eyes when we kissed? Like me.
The sunshine girl has raindrops in her eyes. The sunshine girl has raindrops in her eyes.
Another one where she brought in the O'Neill. And
Anna Christie, yeah.
I bet you did. Charlotte, do you have any memories of the work you did on that?
I mean, I have a deep respect for the people who adapt things. It's not easy, boy. It's really tough. But if you have a genius who's behind the whole thing, I mean, like Eugene O'Neill, you use him.
You always go to the source material and start again and just say, what
Yes.
were they trying to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fit it to our space. Fit it. Juicy, the juiciest parts.
The other O'Neill that we did was Take Me Along, which is based on what's the O'Neill play that...
Wilderness.
It's a book by Joseph Stein and Bob Russell, lyrics and music by Bob Merrill. Yeah, I mean, when people ask me about, shows I'm doing or the Irish Rep, I think they feel like we just kind of do like the old version and just kind of do it. But they don't
Never once have we done that.
You can't.
Never once. We're doing all this radical stuff. We're paring it down. You have a wonderful ability to just, slice straight to the heart of things.
I think in the way that we do a musical, everyone is integral. Every single human on that stage is integral.
Absolutely.
Because it's compact. It's this little microcosm of a world.
But I have to tell you, one of the things also that makes the musicals at Irish Rep so incredibly special is that what John does with the harmonies, what Josh does with those orchestrations for an orchestra of 4 or 5.
Josh Clayton.
Yes. You hear the music so differently when it's done at Irish Rep because you all of a sudden hear it in its very naked beauty because the orchestrations are so simple and they are really quite elegant and very they're just it's stunning to hear the musicals at Irish
And
Rep.
there are no microphones.
And
No
there's
microphones. And there's no synthesizers. Everything is a live,
Acoustic.
vibrating instrument.
While we're on the topic of the instrumentation. How did that unfold?
Melissa, you went through part of that because you did Finian's both times. The first time was 2 pianos.
Yes, with
And
Mark
even
Hartman. And was it Mark Janis?
Mark Janis.
Yes.
We had
Yes.
2 pianists. Now, Mark Hartman is a huge part of the development of the musical successes at the Irish Rep. I adore him.
Absolutely.
He was marvelous. So I remember we had 2 pianos. You were saying, Barry.
When you think of how that changed instrumentally wise to our last revival when we were doing it with Josh Clayton's orchestrations, where it was all string and keyboard, but it had such a beautiful, it was different and yet still worked.
On the day I was born, said my father, said he, I've an elegant legacy where to breathe.
Oh, my heart is beating wildly, and it's all because you're here. When I'm not near the girl I love the girl I'm near.
What is the curse that makes the universe so all bewildering? What is the hoax that just provokes the folks they call God's children?
Say that. I look at you and suddenly something in your eyes I see soon begins bewitching me. It's that old devil moon that you stole from the skies. It's that old devil moon in your eyes. May we meet in La Camorra one fine
The second Finian's was the first musical after the renovation had been done. So we had more space, and we have now those very high ceilings in the auditorium, which are great acoustically. So I think we wanted to have more instruments and to kind of show off the more expansive space and the bigger sound.
Kira
Yes, it was
Riley
hard,
got
yeah.
rid of that whole side, the audience. And
Yes.
is that partially to allow for orchestras?
I believe so,
Right.
yes. And so we've put our orchestras over there as well.
Yeah, the renovation is so world class, is so modern, is so
Yeah.
chic. It allows for that orchestra, that more of an orchestra. The Irish Rep has gone back to that art form, which is the art form of orchestrating for the natural voice.
In leaving room for the voice, you also leave room for the storytelling
Yeah.
and for the acting. In working in a small space, what I've learned, and I've learned this from Charlotte, and she said it, over and over again, there's nowhere to hide. You can't hide anything. We're all 5 feet away from each other. There's nowhere to hide. So it all has to be true. It has to be honest. It has to be musical. It has to be connected to humanity.
That intimacy that you're talking about, how do you deal with that as just a partnership, the 3 of you? What do you think makes your partnership so enduring and successful?
Wine.
It is communication and luck, and we talk in our own code.
I think we've worked together that we understand each other in shorthand.
I think we probably approach these musicals a little bit more like doing a play, that the storytelling is what's driving the bus. I think everyone on this video chat, I'm looking at people who, there's no one else on earth whose instincts I trust more than these people. And in fact, I would trust you with my life if it came to it. So, so why wouldn't I trust you with a play? I mean,
Well, it's funny you mentioned instincts, because Charlotte, when we were doing On a Clear Day, it was about a young woman who wants to quit smoking, wants to improve her life, goes to a doctor and gets hypnotized. And while under hypnosis, she has an alteration and she becomes a woman from the 18th century, and she becomes another person, and the doctor is absolutely intrigued by who she used to be. And so when she wakes back up, and she's this gal from the 60s, she's in love with the doctor, but the doctor kind of liked who she used to be. So it's a wonderful metaphor for being liked for who you used to be. The play was so interesting on so many levels. The way the 3 people on this screen handled it was to ask me not to talk about anything.
The people you're on stage with whom you're on stage should not always know what's in your mind.
On a clear day, up is where to grow, up with which below can't compare with Harry. It's lovely up here.
Grab a star, come back to me.
If his kindness was being applied, his eyes never left me alone. On board the SS Bernard
Why did champagne lose its year for me? Love's haunting strain disappear for me. What could I do? She wasn't you. And on a clear day, on that clear day, you can see forever and ever and ever and ever.
John, do you want to play anything for us?
I'd like your
Gosh.
favorite song from a
Well,
musical.
Walk over to the piano. It will come to your fingers.
One thing that I really love in one of the songs that we've done is the end of the trolley song. It's really amazing how Hugh Martin and Ralph Blaine, who wrote this, it's a pretty straightforward song. It's a pretty straightforward tune, A-A-B-A. But I think the ending, the ride out at the end is so exciting. It's very, very creative. So just, like the last A section, you have buzz, buzz, buzz went the buzzer. Plop, plop, plop went the wheels. Stop, stop went my heartstrings. Now here's where it changes. You expect the song to be over, but now it starts a new sequence. As he started to leave, I took hold of his sleeve with my hand, and as if it were planned, he stayed on with me, and it was grand just to stand with his hand holding mine to the end of the line. I think that's so brilliant,
Yes.
particularly with the rhymes. You get that endless rhyme of hold of his sleeve with my hand, and as if it were planned, he stayed on with me, and it was grand just to stand with his hand holding mine as it ascends up to the tonic. After this long train-like song, you keep expecting it to be over, and then it's not.
What a wonderful song. So Barry, do you have, what's your background with Irish dancing and Irish dance style?
I started out when I was 8 years old doing Irish step dancing when I was a kid in Los Angeles. At age 11 in 1971, I qualified for the World Championships. And to be quite honest, it's where a lot of tap comes from, Irish step dancing. So that was why I picked up tap, so it was one of those kind of things that's what I did when I was a kid. What was wonderful was the last time we did Finian's with Mark Evans, who was an accomplished tap dancer. He'd never done Irish step dancing before, but he was game to learn it. So we put at the for the entr'acte for the second act, why doesn't he do a traditional Irish step dance, and we'll just have him fall in love with the piano player and kind of then start dancing.
It's wonderful to hear you, Barry, to hear you talking about using the unique dance skills of Mark Evans, because our leprechauns have been tremendous over the years, and Malcolm Getz was, if not a professional dancer, he was a world-class piano player. We used to have him sit and tinkle the piano.
I think that's one of the great things that we've done in all our musicals. Remember when we did New Girl in Town, our guy that played the saxophone, so all of a sudden we took that and made that into a transition.
Yeah.
The three of us are very, very attuned to seeing a talent in a room and going, we can use this. So we take the talents that we see and we try and use them to our best abilities.
It has to be mentioned as well that Lyrica Brielle was the greatest little ballerina I have ever seen in my life.
She was quite something. She really is a phenomenal dancer.
A phenomenal dancer. So our production, when I did Finian's Rainbow, we were reopening the Westport Country Playhouse, and we were given that opportunity because we were the ones who had closed it before its renovation. Right. Oh, I see. So we're sort of the transition.
we did.
We helped them finish a season and we helped them celebrate a new beginning.
I felt that we were honored to be asked to reopen that wonderful theater. As a side view, both Joanne Woodward and Paul Newman were in the audience the night we opened.
Yes, unbelievable.
Hey, Melissa.
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't you give us a few bars of one of your favorites? What would it be?
Well, it would always be what you brought into my life, which is this song that you brought into my life and you brought into my children's lives as a
good
over time.
Good.
So,
nobody sings it as prettily as you do, Melissa. Let's hear a bit of it.
I hear a bird, a glockamora bird. It well may be he's bringing me a cheering word. I hear a breeze, a river shining breeze. It well may be it's followed me across the sea. And tell me, please, how are things in Glockamora? Is that little brook still leaping there? Does it still run down to Donegal through Killybegs, Kilkerry and Kildare? How are things in Glockamora? Is that willow tree still weeping there? Does that laddie with the twinkling eye come whistling by? And does he walk away sad and dreamy there, not to see me there? So I ask each weeping willow and each brook along the way, and each lad that comes a whistling to Raleigh. How are things in Glockamora this fine day? Do we have a favorite memory thinking about all that we're going through? Is there something that we miss the most?
It would be lovely to be back in our rehearsal room, the four of us together doing something again. I do look forward to that, I have to say. That would be a nice moment.
It will come.
Yeah.
It will come.
We will all be back there in that wonderful rehearsal room with all the beautiful light.
Yeah.
John playing the piano, Barry dancing up a storm. We'll all be together again.
As ever, the Irish Rep is going to be there for a lot of people. You're an amazing partnership, and you've inspired me and countless audiences. So I'm glad I got to learn a little more about the three of you and how you met. And let's do it again sometime.
Okay.
We'll do it
Absolutely.
again.
Soon.